Jesus Christ. Okay. Alright, let's move out of this window. Sorry about that. Sorry. Um, my capture card decided it was going to be... It was going to fuck up right before I started streaming, I guess. I don't know, it just wasn't displaying anything. It was weird. My capture card has always been funny like that. Anyways. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to another stream where today I haven't really planned on anything. I just know I won't be able to stream for a couple of days, and I know that's going to be, since I haven't streamed yesterday, it's going to be kind of a while, of me not streaming. So I just thought, screw it. I'll just go ahead and stream today. Why not? For how many hours? Who knows? I'll just stream whatever, right? And so naturally I thought, well, why not stream a games that I actually enjoy playing and just kind of shoot the shit for a bit, just talk about stuff. I don't know. I kind of wasn't really thinking too hard about what I would be doing so much as, just just get a stream going, maybe just do something, talks about something interesting, maybe something that's a bit more topical. There's been certainly some developments these days, especially in the VTubing side of things. I, for one, and again, I do not consider myself to be a bit like a typical VTuber, but I do know that, especially not, I don't know what male VTubers do specifically because I don't watch them. But I do watch. I don't know if I don't think I talk about it very much, but I do watch like VTubers, on my main channel and on the, and just in my private time because it's just something that I enjoy doing. I don't have a particular streamer slash VTuber that I particularly enjoy or follow, but I do watch a variety of content. And so that's kind of what I've been up to in my downtime. At least that's just what I usually get up to in my downtime. I'm still debating about the Twitch thing. I'm thinking about maybe setting up a Twitch account, but I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I kind of just want to be a one platform Andy, just a one platform person. I don't know if I want to really diversify my content that way. But otherwise, yeah. Hello, and welcome to the channel. Wait, is one of my... No, that's just something else. Okay. I was checking my overlay. But yeah. So I don't exactly have any plans on what I was going to do. I was just gonna kind of sit here and just kind of shoot the shit, maybe play a game. I was thinking about playing Space Marines too because I fucking love this game. I play this game so much in my spare time you don't even know. Not on this account, of course, because if you could see the playtime on this thing on this account, it is nothing. It is zilch. But on my main account, I have almost 300 hours. I believe I'm at 279 currently right now. And I really do love to play this game. It's just like a fun relaxation type of thing. I also go to between that to this game. It's called Witchfire. I recently bought this game not that long ago, and I've been enjoying it ever since. And maybe I'll play that instead. But yeah, those are kind of the options that I'm weighing here. Let's see. Other than that, though, I should also check YouTube real quick just to see how everything's looking. Average view duration. Not saying that I have anybody watching. What's it talking about? Okay. I'm not gonna question that. YouTube's just being weird, I guess. Anyways, but yeah. So recently there's been some controversy though, speaking of which about around the VTuber community. Apparently one of the indie VTubers, a really big one named Cinder, had apparently got into a bit of an issue, to put it mildly. Now, here's the thing about internet controversies is that they're either really, really stupid or they're just poorly thought out, right? That's usually how these things typically tend to go, is that in most internet controversies, the people at the center of it are either do something really, really dumb or they just inadvertently do something that just puts them in a precarious position, right? That's normally how that happens. But in this case, it's I wouldn't say I'm very up to date on the subject. I just know that I just know that it's happened and it's probably still happening. It just seems interesting though, because from the general consensus of the whole thing, from what I've understand from looking into it and also seeing other people's reactions of it, is that she's essentially made some disparaging comments about her cohorts, her friends and colleagues, and she's basically put herself into a negative position where a lot of her DMs got leaked by her model artist. I believe her name is Nanalise, and she basically released a whole damning document about the whole shebang. And her manager, who she may or may not be sleeping with, is another source of a really big source of contention because he's kind of like the biggest perpetrator of the whole thing, from what I'm getting the sense of. But the general consensus, right, wasn't necessarily like the actions that happened so much as the response to it that people are taking more so the umbrage with. I'm noticing, which makes sense. All right, I've been on the internet long enough to know that when an internet controversy happens, it's not about the controversy itself that's usually the worst thing. It's how you respond to it that usually really takes the cake. It really knocks the wind into its sails, or it knocks the wind out of it, right? Well, the response to that wasn't too great. She essentially blamed everything on her manager. And again, while she removed him as the manager, like the boyfriend allegations are still there. And so it's more so a lot of people are taking away with it as a slap on the wrist. I know a friend of mine's been talking about it because, that friend of mine is also a streamer. And so they're kind of pretty much like on the know about it. At least they're putting actual and they're actually investigating it, and I'm just hearing what they have to say about it, what she has to say about it. That's just how it is, I don't know what else to say about the subject other than look, we've been on the internet long enough, right? I think we've all been on the internet long enough, right? And we've all seen our fair share of scandals. I know the VTuber community has its fair share of pretty weird, if not monumental, scandals. And I feel like this one was just bound to happen. And let's just be honest here, guys. It's just women doing women things. That's just what it boils down to. At its grossest simplification, it's just women doing the utmost, right? Because this is usually how it goes, right? Guys, this is usually how it goes. When a woman does, women have their groups. They have their friend groups, their in groups. And they all have this established hierarchy. And when that hierarchy ever gets put into question, shit hits the fan. All right? It's one of the reasons why compliments to women are basically they're obligatory, but it's the way it's delivered or how it's handled or received is usually the part that always needs scientific analysis, right? It's not because you could girls could easily walk into a conversation and just be like, "Hi, hi there, Stephanie. How are you doing today? You're looking very cute today. Oh, thank you." And the delivery of how it's done could, it's a very mind-boggling thing because women apparently for some reason have this weird necessity to play 4D chess with each other. And they like to do this thing that I like to call, right? Because I've been around the circles. I've seen enough of it to know the signs and to develop opinions about it to a degree. They all like to engage, in my opinion, this little thing called I wouldn't say it's like what is it? They like to do the practice and exercise of trying not to step on each other's toes, right? A conversation amongst women is like a dance, right? They all dance to the tune of their own beats, right? And everyone kind of like is sort of like in rhythm and in sync with one another until one of them steps out of line or steps out of cue, and suddenly it's just like, this person's a fucking weirdo, or this person could be a bitch, this person could be many things. um yeah, and that's kind of what this is kind of feeling like, is that Cinder was one of the bigger VTubers, so she's like the top. She probably, it's only natural, right, that women who are at the top of their game tend to develop a bit of a diva-like personality. It's not uncommon. It's a common factor. There's only a few people who are an exception to this rule, and it's usually people who are more so shy or shut-ins. But it's at the end of the day, like when you get as high as somebody like Cinder, you develop a bit of a personality, and that personality can go one or two ways, right? You can either take it in stride, or you can just let it consume you. And she seems to have become the person who lets her fame consume her, because there is no reason for the kind of things that I have seen, at least in some of the documents that have been talked about, and it's truly something to behold how this is a thing that could happen. But honestly, I just knew it was probably bound to happen. Let's just be honest, guys. Let's be honest about another thing, is that this sort of thing is bound to happen every once in a while, because everybody is guilty of this, especially on the female side of things. Everyone's going to be guilty of it at some point. Like when you feel like you're like the top dog, you're like the one that people look to, you're like at the head of the social circles, you're basically the person that everybody looks up to or looks to for advice, for anything, right? And that's kind of what Cinder seems to have played the role of, at least in some of the documentations that I have seen, is that she basically, at least from the looks of it, she thinks, or she has thought that she has asserted herself as basically being like the sort of like the top of the food chain, the holier than thou, sort of like VTuber. And a lot of people, right? Like, it's one thing to actually walk the walk. It's another thing to talk the talk, right? And the problem with this situation, again, is that I feel like in regards to this whole controversy, it's like this whole thing could have been avoided if her apology, at least not necessarily completely avoided. Like, it wouldn't be as bad if the response to it wasn't so deflection based, right? It wasn't so much like an Uno reverse card, because that's how the apology document read off, and she didn't even preface the document with anything. And from the looks of it, she just inserted a document. It's just like, my apology, and then she just and then she puts the link, and that's it. And she blames everything on her manager, and says nothing about, and takes no responsibility for for herself or any of her actions, according to many. I have not actually looked at the apology document, nor have I seen anyone cover it. I just seen the first initial document that was given to the internet on Twitter by Annalise, I believe, and that's pretty much the only one I think I have seen. But the whole situation is just kind of backfiring because of the usual reasons of how these things typically tend to go. It's just like, it's one thing that you have now been revealed, and people around you know that you have a history of exercising certain manipulation tactics, all right? And this is not uncommon. Women do it to each other all the time, to a degree. Women, again, are always looking to see who's going to step on whose toes, and that's usually the exercise. They basically they play a game of essentially try not to step on each other's toes, and the first one who does it gets somewhat crucified by the group, or it's just kind of made light of, or just kind of made fun of. And if it's too egregious, right, sometimes like there will be that awkward silence, which I like to consider it, which I call it the fall, like the fall before the storm, right, or something of that nature, because it's usually what happens is that once you once you say or do something that makes everyone stop to think, to really register what happened, it tends to go back, you know, in such a weird, significant way, right? That everyone thinks you're weird or a pariah, and then everybody stops associating with you. It's just like you slowly get trickled out of events. People don't even bother to invite you. They don't even talk to you anymore. And the only time they ever talk to you is when you talk to them. That's when you know you fucked up. And a lot of the time, and in this kind of scenario, right? I'm kind of just spitballing here, but let's just try and keep on track, I guess. But the whole Cinder situation is, at least from the looks of it, right? Without getting too deep into, to the sauce of my own understanding of, I guess, female behavior, is that Cinder was very much like the top of her own little social circles, her own little friend group. She didn't like the fact that some of the girls were kind of getting in the way of her ability to do things, and as a result, she kind of was trying to orchestrate things in such a way, right, that she basically would retain all of her cards and all of the things that she wants and that she needs to make herself, more successful, in a sense. Like, the monopolization of her mods and artists is not a terrible thing on the surface. Like, if you need stuff done, I can understand, but if you're not doing anything too major, I don't see a reason why not. And if nothing else, you could always just message someone like, "Hey, I need this mod or this artist for something. Can you please not try to poach this person, or I kind of need them to do something." And even then, those people can be they'll probably say the same thing. You probably won't even need to do shit. But the fact that that these mods and these artists are basically accepting commissions, and nobody really gives a shit. They don't really seem to mind doing it, because probably they're not doing anything in particular at that point in time. So they don't really see a reason not to do it. So why not, right? I feel like this whole situation, right, is a result of just, again, catty behavior among women, and she is allowing her own sort of personal needs and her own personal she's putting her well-being above everybody else's. And when that happens, that's basically asking for a good fall. That's a good fall. It's like you're basically asking for a crash out, essentially. To put it in simpler terms, it's basically begging for a crash out. And that's just how that cookie crumbles. I'm not exactly a big fan of Cinder. I've seen some of her streams. I think her models are nice. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people would watch her streams, and it's probably not just because of the model, although that probably plays a big factor into it. She's got two really good reasons for it, but otherwise, she seemed, at least on, on the surface, like a very interesting, very entertaining individual. But those are usually the people you kind of have to watch out for. It's the people who tend to be the most socially acclimated that are the ones that require the most consideration. And that's just my own personal experience. Again, as someone who's developed a bit of a persecution complex and has, I have survived things such as middle school, for example. It's not fun. California is a shithole, and the only thing people in California care about is a lot of superficial shit. But anyways, it's truly something to see these examples time and time and again. And you think people would eventually learn this lesson, right? But no. There's always somebody who's going to step out of line, who's going to take things a little too far. It always happens. I mean, the internet's been around forever, and you think that people would eventually just learn their lesson, but they don't. And it's always so surprising to see people continue to fall into these same fucking trappings, these same fucking hurdles, these same fucking problems. and you think people would just eventually learn, right? We've had other examples of people having significant crash outs on a similar level, and some weren't even too bad, but some of them were just kind of a little too parasocial, a little too, or even grotesque. There's a lot of problems that stem from taking things too far within the VTuber community, and I feel like that, like when it comes to one of the reasons why, here's an okay. So one of the things that I am afraid of, right, is that if I ever get big enough to a point, right, like let's say if I get big enough to where like I just become like I get messaged by people want to collaborate with me, like I have to do my due diligence and make sure that this person is actually a decent individual, because like as someone who takes his job very seriously, and since this is becoming more so a full-time gig than anything else, I have to put the onus on myself, right, to treat it like one. And so at least to a certain level of degree, right? And when it comes to collaborations and partnering with people, I have to take that shit very seriously, because everything could go wrong so quickly depending on who you choose to collaborate with. And from what I have seen, and in my own personal experience of having been on the internet long enough and seen these controversies play out, I feel like that you don't ever get a second chance to make a first impression, and first impressions are everything when it comes to being an influencer, a content creator. And so people's first exposure to you, as well as people's first meeting with you, is going to be very, very important. And it's one of the reasons why I kind of treat this sort of thing with a bit of more care in my own mind. Like if I was going to collaborate with someone, right, I would be checking their background. I would be seeing if they got into any controversies in the past. I'd be seeing if they have ever had any sort of takes that might be questionable, or if they have any sort of, or if they've said or done anything that I might have to consider. Like I would have to do at least some of the things, right? At least the bare minimum of looking up a few of the, usual suspects. I have to kind of cross my T's and dot my I's on whether or not this person is actually someone I want to put the kind of effort to really collaborate with, right? And I'm not opposed to collaborate with someone who has a bit of a questionable background, right? Like I know that there's some VTubers out there, or at least some content creators that have had questionable backgrounds, but still, they still manage to stay afloat because they managed to weather controversies at least somewhat decently well. I know some people, like, here's an example, like Nuxtaku, for example, is a guy, right, who is basically a de facto VTuber now, and before I used to know him for a lot of his anime content, right, as most people probably who are fans of him typically tend to know him for. And I knew him for some of his more zanier streams and podcasts, among other things, right? As well as his video content. And while he's been through several controversies over the past, like I don't really think he's inherently a terrible person to collaborate with. Like he's certainly a bit more of a wild card in that sense, because he's collaborated with people before, and he's done content, he's done video content with people that were mostly good, but sometimes they kind of blow for different reasons, like, and sometimes and most of the time it was unintentional. Like I feel like a lot of Nuxtaku's problems is that he doesn't fact check his sources properly, or he says things without putting the necessary amounts of emphasis or preface on the fact that he doesn't know much about anything about a particular subject. And that kind of comes back and bite him in the ass. And arguably you might say, well, he probably shouldn't need to, because people who are viewers of his probably already know that he's just kind of like, like he just kind of doesn't know these things. He doesn't fact check everything. They probably already heard this stuff before, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that if you say anything damning or you make any damning statements, you should always follow that up with a necessary level of just like, hey, all right, like what the whole, like, for example, the whole Taiga situation, just like, hey, I've heard things from friends of mine, among other things, that this person is potentially a questionable individual. You know, like, so I'm just letting you know, and all this other stuff, like, you know, like, and even then, you know, like, if you're not even 100% sure, why even include him in the video, right? Because he had a video with Moist Critical where he did this thing, right? And that's where it kind of started. But that's, you know, like, if you don't even know the full story, why even bother including them in all of the other controversies within the whole VTuber sphere, right? There's a lot of things to say about Nuxtaku, but I feel like a lot of his problems is that he just doesn't think too far ahead when it comes to the shit that he does, and I feel like that's kind of his biggest, you know, problem. But as far as like content creators go, I don't think he's the most hateable person. I think he's certainly I wouldn't say he's questionable I say he's questionable to a degree. I wouldn't say he's inherently questionable, but I would say that some of his decisions are questionable, but I wouldn't say that, at least when it comes to content creation purposes, I wouldn't say that everything he does is questionable. I think that a lot of his content is, you know, like, it's all done for the sake of shock value. That's what his original content was, is that it was all done for shock value and being unapologetically just like in your face. I have opinions and I have shit to say about your favorite anime among other things, and I don't care about what other people say about it. Just fucking cry about it. You know, it's that kind of energy. And then we went from that to just like kind of a downward spiral of him getting into one controversy after another, and now he does basically like drama tuber content, which I don't necessarily see as a bad thing, because I just react to a lot of drama tuber content myself, just to kind of, you know, like, I would rather watch YouTubers talk about politics these days than actually listen to mainstream sources, because mainstream sources, as proven by many a times, they're either bought out shills or they don't actually know what the fuck they're saying or what they're doing. So I don't listen to those people as far as I can throw them. But, you know, regardless, I kind of went on a tangent. But at the end of the day, internet controversies like Cinder, like Nux, like all of these things, you know, like, they all have, there's a lot of reasons as to how they might end up starting, but they always start out the same way, right? It's when you either take things too far or you don't take it far enough, or the biggest problem, of course, is that, you know, you say one thing and do another thing. You know, like, there's so many things to take away from certain controversies. All of them are basically like, they're like learning lessons, and people don't bother actually researching the lessons. They don't bother to try to learn the lessons from them. They just hear about it, and then they just go about their day. And that's the part that really boggles my mind, is like, if you're a content creator, right, and you're in the business of making contents for people on the internet, and your job is to associate with people on the daily, to collaborate with them, to do a bunch of other things, right? You wouldn't try to learn some actual lessons from this. You wouldn't have any takeaways from these experiences. Like, there's no greater lesson to be had than learning from people's failures. And there's no greater lesson to learn than learning from your own failures. And I feel like that people who don't want to learn from their own failures or from other people's failures are just doomed to either repeat them, or to basically have them, you know, eventually come back and bite them in the ass. So yeah, you know, like, if I was to ever collaborate with someone, I would definitely be fact-checking and, you know, running some tests. I would even be doing stress tests. Like, especially if it's like with women, because I don't want to be canceled. I don't want to be canceled, and I have opinions, all right? If anybody's been on this channel long enough, especially if some of you are fucking subscribers, you know, I have fucking opinions about things. And if I were to talk to someone, right, and they don't know who I am, but they're just collaborating with me because of whatever reason, right? I'm gonna run some fucking stress tests on them, right? You know, I'm not gonna run shit tests like women love to do in their relationships, but I'm gonna be running stress tests on them, and I'm gonna be poking the bear a little bit to see where there might be some sources of contention or some areas of sticking points of that I might be worthy of concern. Like, I'm not gonna just come right out and say like, "Hey, what's your political opinions?" I'm just gonna be like, "So, did you hear about this new?" Like, they could be talking about their merch, and I could be like, "Oh yeah, how's the tariff situation going involving your merch? You have that shit like done like in country, or are you outsourcing? Like, how's that going? How do you have your stuff set up?" And then just by gauging their responses, you can assert that they may or may not have well, they might have a political slant. Let's just say. So yeah, there are ways and loopholes to get around certain issues. I shouldn't have to play 4D chess myself, but I feel like, especially if I'm going to be doing this, and if I'm going to be collaborating with people, I should probably be doing at least the bare minimum of at least making sure that I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I will have to deal with a potentially troublesome person down the line. And if I collaborate with someone who is potentially a hazard to my channel health and career, I'm just gonna drop them right off the bat. I'm just not even gonna bother. And then if people question it, I'm just gonna say like, well, I mean, it's not that I don't. It could, like, you will never know why I would drop a person. I'm just going to put it like this. If you'll never know why I dropped the person, it could just be that because they're busy. It could just be because I'm busy. It could just be because, right, that I don't exactly have, I've just never really talked to that person since, or that our collab wasn't as good as we would have liked it. We just kind of moved on from one another. It could be many of things. I'm not going to ever tell you outright that I just didn't like the person, because that just is fucking rude. I mean, to a degree. Like, I do have some respect for people, even when they don't have respect for me. I'm just gonna, I mean, like, unless they try to piss in my cornflakes, I'm not gonna piss in yours, okay? That's all I'm saying, is that as long as you don't piss in my cornflakes, I will not piss in yours. All right? And if I don't like the person, I'm not going to say outright that I don't like the person, because the result of what would happen if I said that is that, oh, wow, you're a piece of shit. People are going to go run over there and they're going to be like, oh, wow, you're a piece of shit. Oh, wow, this person doesn't like you. Did you not know that? Or it's just like, wow, this person doesn't like you because of these and these reasons. Can you believe that? And it's just like, then it's just going to turn into pedantic gossip and bullshit, right? And I don't need that. They don't need that. Nobody needs that. So I'm not gonna disparage someone because I don't like them. I'm just gonna tell you that, oh, I just don't have the time to do it. I just never thought about it. No, they're busy. Like, if there was ever one reason why I would be a bit flippant on the channel about some of the things that I do and some of the things that I don't do, it's gonna be this. Okay, I'm not gonna outright just put down or disparage people in any sense of the word, simply because I don't like them or because they don't like me or whatever the hell. I'm just gonna say that I just don't feel like I need to talk or collab with this person at any point in time. Like, we're our own individual people. Like, we did it one time. It was interesting, but we kind of moved on from it, and we just both agree that we value different things. It doesn't have to be a big deal, right? None of these things have to be a big deal. All right? And people make a big deal about those sorts of things too, especially depending on how big you get. Like, when you get two big creators come together, it's like this big sort of like just this sort of climactic sort of like meeting between champions, between heroes, and it's just like in a sense, and it's just like, oh my god, this is happening, I can't believe it, type of thing, right? But it really isn't that big of a deal to the creators at the end of the day, because it's just like, I do a thing, you do a thing. We have our own particular way of doing things and our own flavors and spins on how we conversate and how we interact with other people. It's not that big of a deal, right? It's not that big of a deal for content creators, unless it becomes a problem in the sense like, I can't be myself around you, and that in itself becomes a problem. But like, I feel like in that regard, right, if you can't work literally, as the word state, as the word is defined, collaboratively work with somebody on a fundamental level, you probably shouldn't be doing it in the future. So yeah, that's just my take on it. Anyways, I'm kind of getting wrapped up in this sort of thing, but I thought I'd just take the time to kind of shoot the shit for a little bit. I'm just not sure what to do with this stream. I just kind of had some ideas of what I would do, but I just thought I'd talk about something a little bit of what I've been seeing nowadays. And as far as like why I'm not feeling too good, as I made a post saying like I'm making this stream because the impromptu because I'm not feeling too great. And it's like I'm just trying to distract myself because I'm falling into the mindset where I'm starting to get depressed and I'm starting to think about stupid things again. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not gonna sit on my ass and just be stewing in that shit. So I thought I might as well should just try to distract myself from it. So this is more so me just trying to distract myself from depressing topics. And it had nothing to do with this controversy, by the way. I have no stake in the Cinder controversy, the Nuxtaku stuff, or even just like hell, Gar graduated not that long ago, and a lot of people have opinions about that. And she also released a cover, her own musical cover, her own original song with Casey Edwards, and that shit was fire. But it's like I don't have really any stake in any of these creators. Again, I watch people because I like the content that they do. I don't watch them because I personally like them as I mean, well, I guess I can't say. I guess I shouldn't say that. It's not that I don't like it's not that I don't like them. It's just that I'm indifferent, right? I just don't know them. It's hard to have an opinion about someone you've never met. You can enjoy someone's content. You can like what they do. It's just that I don't know them personally to really like them or to really want to be invested in them. And I feel like I'd have to know somebody if I wanted to get personally invested in them. I'm not the kind of person who's just who's about idol culture, which I mean that's a conversation and a half, but I'm not someone who gets wrapped into things like idol, like around I treat people like they're idols, put them on pedestals, only think about them as like these sort of like figures that can do nothing wrong type of thing. I'm just the kind of person who just would rather, and that's just the gross simplification of it, right? I'm just the kind of person who likes to casually watch people and see what they're doing and then just enjoy what they do. I don't I don't put much stake or stock in any of the other shit. At any rate, so that being said, there's really nothing else I think I want to talk about. And I guess I should probably play something if I'm going to talk about stuff, to be honest. Let's see. Or maybe I could do some videos. What do you guys think? You think I should, like, react to some videos? Oh, I should probably... Give me a second. I forgot that I haven't signed in. Denied. You are denied. You cannot see. You cannot see it. I will not let you. Oh, well, this is just the opera thing. Here we go. There we go. Alrighty. There we are. Alright, so. I wonder, should we maybe watch something? Maybe we shouldn't. I don't mind watching something. I would not mind reacting to something. Maybe we could react to some 40K content, because I do like me some 40K content. I do tend to watch it on my own YouTube channel, well, my own account. The biggest indie VTuber, yeah, that stuff. Possible, impossible. Shondo. A lot of people are also citing Shondo when they're talking about the Cinder controversy as well. Apparently, she predicted this kind of thing happening. Kind of think of it, I do remember her actually mentioning something about like how some VTubers actually date their managers. I don't know. I got scammed. Hmm. Oh yeah, that death battle was pretty good, despite what people might have to say about the actual statistics on who wins on it. Some of these videos are kind of sus. I don't know why I get some of these videos. It's just like, well, not even on this channel. I get some weird videos that get recommended on my channel sometimes. They hate this. What the fuck? Hey, speaking of Nux, there's Nux. Yeah, I don't know. Well, if nothing else, we could always come back to it. I'll go ahead and just minimize this. Let's go ahead and play this. Now, I've never played the multiplayer for Space Marines 2. I've very much enjoyed Space Marines 2 in my own time, especially since the last time I've made the video series on it. And I really enjoy this game in my free time. I've already mentioned that, but I definitely have it's earned all of the money that I've spent to buy it. That's for fucking sure. Plus, the roadmap is almost complete, so if you had any sort of real reason to maybe want to get into it, now seems like a pretty good time to do that. I'll just go ahead and pop in. But yeah, I've never played Space Marines 2's multiplayer on my streamer account because it's not something that I thought about I would do in general. But, you know, since I'm kind of like starting to stream and I'm just kind of not sure what I'm going to do, I thought maybe just like I'd shoot the shit. Maybe some people will join, maybe some people won't, and I just talk about things while I play games that I enjoy. I don't know. I kind of wanted to think of it as like a hangout channel, but at least with live streaming, it gives me more of a reason to actually do stuff that's just kind of like stuff that's kind of like literally hating out with people. I don't know. Oh. But yeah, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna do a stream for. I'm probably just gonna stream myself playing this game, maybe doing something else at on the side, and just kind of go from there. Okay, that was weird. Mm-hmm. I know how to play. Oh, trust me. I know exactly how to play. Yeah, even the champions and all the different chapters are practically out too. So yeah, this is the heraldry. You can basically get all, like, if you've been a favorite fan of like any chapter, you could just get all the chapters, colors, and you know, like all of their markings and stuff from the first founding tree among other trees. They even have like things from like unknown foundings to like other successor chapters from like the second foundings onward. And they even have other chapters that weren't directly, you know, like they don't have their successor chapters further extrapolated on, like the Dark Angels have their own successors and second founding chapters, among other things. You can certainly get a lot of mileage out of this game now than you did when it first released. So if there was ever a reason to get the game, it would be now. You can even customize all the details on it, which is nice. I'm not too interested in wanting to delve through all of the customization stuff right now. We're just going to keep everything as is and just kind of have some fun with this. The only thing I will do is put a helmet on all of the classes because I just don't like being without a helmet. 200 coins. I don't remember that being a thing that the game starts out with, but it's been a while since I've been a newcomer to this. What class should I play? The one that I usually main in my, on my own time is the Vanguard or the Assault. I just like both of these because I like the hammer. I just love slamming into things. And I also like the Vanguard because I just like the brutal in-your-face type of like combat style. And I guess another fun one would be Heavy, but Heavy's only fun if you enjoy just like completely destroying entire swaths of enemies with just unrelenting arsenals of of bolter, plasma, and multi-cannons, because multi-melts are great. Let's see, but for right now, I'm thinking I'll run with... Maybe, should I do a tactical, or should I do a Vanguard? Maybe I should do a jetpack. Hmm. You know what? Why not? I'll play Vanguard. It's one of my favorite classes. Get rid of the Instigator Carbine first off. I'll get this gun in here. It's actually already on the second tab, but whatever. This pistol's fine. Kinda. I actually would rather have this, maybe. Yeah, let's just get the heavy bolter in there. Heavy bolter's a good pistol. Alright, now let's replace you with this. This is probably by far the best submachine gun. This Bolt carbine is amazing. I would not give this up for anything. Let's see, we'll keep the Melta rifle on this one. Yeah, we'll keep the basic pistol for sure. I think we'll keep the knife, maybe. Yeah, we'll add the chainsword to this one, and then we'll add... I think we'll add the knife to this one. Then we'll add the Inferno pistol, which is basically just like a miniature Melta gun. Pretty nice, actually. Oh yeah, the Space Wolves Champion Pack. They did have the... Oh, I don't see it in here. They did have a Salamander Champion Pack for this character, but I don't see it in here. Oh, that's right. It's on the Sniper class. That's right. A lot of people had criticisms about that particular choice because, like, why would you put Salamanders on the one class where it seems antithetical to what the Salamanders are like? And the reason they gave was because they had already had ideas for like the other classes of what their champion packs would be, and they just didn't know what to do with the Salamander one. That's the excuse that they gave, but honestly, I think putting the Salamander as a heavy would have made more sense. But yeah. Anyways, might as well go with Space Wolf. Go with a Space Wolf look. Let's see, let's see. Oh, yeah, there you have the markers because I've never done them on this account. Let's see. I think I could do... No, I don't know. I have crap weapons right now. I'll just try average for now. Let's see. Which mission should I do? I guess I could do it in order, but I'd rather just do it in preference. I don't think I want to do it online either, so I put it on private. Yeah, I'll do the first mission. We'll do that. Oh, you know, if I was gonna go with a Space Wolf look, I could have gotten the camo for the gun and I believe the chainsword as well, but fuck it, we ball. But yeah, I played this. I played a lot of Darktide as well. But Darktide kind of is like... They expect you to do... They expect you to get a lot better at the game playing Darktide. Like, you have to do some of the more difficult missions, and doing it with randos is kind of a pain in the ass. And even when I do it with some of my friends, right? When me and some of my friends try to attempt it, it's like... you know?
Store Promethium in the refinery to destroy the enemy swarm. The Cadians were tasked with providing assistance, but we have since lost contact. First, proceed to the Cadian outpost and establish their fate. You must then infiltrate the refinery and complete demolitions deployment. Trigger detonation only when the main swarm has entered the plaza zone. Captain Akaram will coordinate our efforts over Vox.
Alright, my controls are still the same on my mouse button, so that's good.
I will take point.
The art of dismemberment. Stay
dead, closing the gap.
I just got that ordeal too. Oof. I don't know what causes that to happen sometimes. Like, it should pause. Whoa.
That one is screaming for help. Silence them. Damn venom. Disappointing.
And now I can't see shit. But yeah, it's basically like, what's an easy way to explain this? It's like Left 4 Dead, sort of, right? It's wave-based hordes as you're traversing through the level. Your goal is to get from one point of the level to the other doing objectives. It really is, now that I think about it, it really is just like third-person Left 4 Dead. I even use Left 4 Dead to describe Darktide to my friends. I was just like, it's like Left 4 Dead, but 40K. And they're just like, oh, that sounds fun. Because they like that. One of them, at least, loves playing Left 4 Dead. At least they used to love playing it all the time. Oh, that thing died.
Now this is a Titan.
That's a Guardian relic that I just picked up. It looks like just a rectangular-shaped object. It helps you resurrect when you go down. I think I could turn off the... tutorial stuff. I'll wait on that. Actually, no, I don't have to wait on that because I can just do that. How'd you just do that right now? I forgot I'm not playing online right now. Alright, where is it? It's interface, right? I imagine. Or no, it's gotta be game. Gotta be game. Subtitles. I'll keep that. Link to Epic. I don't need to. Oh, yeah. Oh, what are the graphics settings set to? This is set to balanced. You know, I don't know. I'll have to take a look. Okay. You know, well, you know, it seems to have kept my settings. I can't do higher texture resolution because apparently that takes too much out of my PC. So that's a high. This game runs really well on higher settings, despite the fact that you require a more beefier PC to do it. I think that was my cat. I don't know. I'm not seeing the option. Reminder and tips or deal completion. Mono sound, off-screen markers. Where is it? Is it not in here? I guess it's just not. Aim assist. I don't need aim assist. I'm not playing on controller either. Oh yeah, they also have an FOV scaler, which kind of makes it look kind of weird when you slide it up all the way. But I mean, I would have liked a POV scaler, to be honest. You know, just zoom out from the character literally, just move the camera back a bit. But no, this is like full on, just like we'll just stretch out the camera. It feels like when you do it this way, it just kind of. I don't really care for that. Because I didn't hear and I just missed it. I don't know. Alright, whatever. No matter. Doesn't matter. We'll just continue. Ah, you bastards. There we go. At least one of yous. I swear, it is sometimes hard to judge when they're going to strike and when they're not. Do you mind? I'm trying to reload. Oh, unfortunate. I was really hoping they wouldn't kill it before I got to it.
Rearming.
Thought it was good to smash crates. You get interesting items from it, like that armor boost. Gives me 2 more squares and 1 if I have 3 bars. And the armor rating, the armor scaling is dependent on class.
Smells like fresh.
They'll give you ammo, they'll give you armor boosts, they'll even give you meds. And outside of the campaign, you can find data slates as well. So if you're a completionist, you kind of have to play this game, this part of the game, even if you don't want to.
All I saw was shredded flesh flying and bloody
And honestly, I don't see why you wouldn't want to. This is probably the better aspect of the game. Ooh, hello. So here's an interesting thing. This is the Gene Seed. The interesting thing to note if you've never played this game is that the Gene Seed is good. The Gene Seed is good if you want to play, if you want to be optimal with leveling. Because the Gene Seed, what it does is that if you manage to carry the Gene Seed all the way to the end in place of like a Guardian Relic, which is what helps revive you, it gives you bonus experience. And the tutorial thing is already telling you that as well. You get you get a nice boost of experience by the end of the game if you carry the Gene Seed all the way there. As well as just if you happen to find it. You have to find it more so first before you can even think about trying to get it all the way to the end. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, we got another wave incoming. Can't do anything about that. Oh, I hate these. And he runs. Ow. I hit the wrong button for that one. Normally, if you're not carrying the Gene Seed, what I like to do is that I just like to stockpile on meds, and then only when I die or go down the first time do I actually bother to use them. That way I can get myself out of wound. Because normally, depending on the difficulty you're playing on, it'll usually scale your health up to a certain degree, and then afterwards, you just use 2 of your stims, and it'll just give you full health, and when you do that, it knocks you out of wound state, which is basically like the limit on how many times you could die. If you're in the wound state, if you die, you die. This first mission's always a bit of a tricky one because it never gives you a whole lot of ammo in the beginning. You always have to go long stretches without ammo dumps or boxes that give you ammo. There we go. The one thing that I really love about Vanguard as you level it up is that eventually, if you get it all the way near its 20th level, you can use healing upon executions, and that's by far the most useful thing to have, especially with this class, is that healing by executing, it incentivizes both an aggressive playstyle, but it also, whoa. It not only incentivizes a very aggressive playstyle, which is what is necessary for this class, it also just helps. Is it just me or... Okay, I was about to say. It's also just good because it means you don't have to waste too many stims and you're more likely to not die as a result of just, going through the levels and going through combat scenarios. It lessens a lot of risk. Sweet, there's an ammo cache. But yeah, if you're carrying the Gene Seed around, you're definitely going to want to keep yourself nice and healthy, because if you go down even once, it doesn't matter if you die, alright? If you go down even once with this thing in your possession, you'll lose it. it's over. It's game over, man. Game over. I don't know what they're shooting at. Assuming it's dead now. No targets detected. Probably means that there isn't anything. You can tell the type of enemy variety is in the area just by looking up at the compass thing at the top. And then when you get to places like this where you have no way out and there's like a checkpoint. Because usually when you just have a door in front of you with a panel, it's usually just like a resting point. And then everything just resumes when you get into the next area.
Talassa, you need to acquire the Astra Militarum demolition codes required to deploy and arm their ordnance. Source one from any soldier you see, alive or otherwise.
You have to parry this thing twice because the whip attacks are by far the most annoying. So they don't just get staggered after the first one. No, 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 no. You have to do it twice. It's kind of tricky to get used to after a while, but you get used to it. As far as AI is concerned, the AIs aren't that great. They're not useless either, but they get... I wouldn't... They're only good for just making sure the mission doesn't end. Because if you get down, the mission won't just straight up end, but... They're only good at taking care of some small ads. They're kind of reliable, but I wouldn't stake my life on it.
Feel your packs, brothers.
Got through that.
A waste of time.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll keep it at that.
Empty-handed. Ordnance on me.
Swapping magazine.
Nothing. Keep looking. Empty-handed.
Where is the Cadian soldier that has the lunch codes? Did you?
Got them.
There we go.
Captain, the demolition codes are secured.
Proceed to the Prometheum refinery and complete the demolition preparations.
The last thing they have on their roadmap, now that they've gotten all the PvE missions and everything out of the way, is that they're planning on adding an arena mode, a horde mode, among other things, which is pretty cool, but, and also as well as a new gun. It's going to be the last update that they'll make for this game, which is going to be disappointing, but, you know, this game is so solid that I'm sure if people wanted to, they can make some pretty interesting mods just out of the bones of this game. I would love to see like a full-on new, like a full-on new campaign in this game that's entirely built by community, I would love to see it. And it could involve different chapters and shit. It might even be favorites, moments, or scenarios from like the actual lore of the series. Saber Interactive also doesn't seem to be too against modders either, because they do have their, not only their test server thing for testing out new stuff that they want to put into the game, but they also have been updating people with saying like, hey, if you want to play the mods, make sure that you play the game in like the, I believe they have a specific like mod sort of like a version of the game that you can just sign into that disables the anti-cheats but doesn't allow you to access the online features. I don't know. I haven't looked that far into it because I've never bothered to try and mod the game. I don't like the idea of fucking with my game like that. And plus the mods that I was looking at initially didn't really pique my interest. I haven't checked on them recently, but probably some good ones in there. That's a massive enemy wave.
One down. Brilliant.
I'll take that, please. Thank you.
Swapping out magazine.
Ooh, I'm taking that. I'm tanking that, and I don't need to tank it. I don't have the armor for that shit.
Closing the gap. Disappointing. Rebel launcher set.
Playing without all of the upgrades is a little challenging, I'll admit, because it's not like my guns automatically refresh when I do executions or any of the other stuff. It's very much you have to play without any of the nice conveniences of having already played through the game quite considerably.
What needs grappling? Phoenix, take cover! Swapping out magazine.
Oh, that's one of the new variants that they added for this faction is this thing. I'm not used to fighting this thing still. Because I'm not sure what is the optimal way to fight it. Oh, nice. It's dead. Alright. I'm not sure what's the optimal way to fight that thing. I just assume that if I keep pelting, it'll die. Because I literally have no idea how I'm supposed to deal with that thing.
Stims injected.
I notice it gets easier if you parry its attacks and then you do the riposte on them, the gun strikes, but I never can get those things down, and I just resort to just pelting it with bolter ammo or plasma. Especially since his initial 3-strike attack is never usually telegraphed. At least I don't think it is. I could just be dumb.
Giving them a shrapnel bomb.
Tell us, Acadians are running out of time.
What should I switch to? I guess I'll switch to the Melta, because I know this is going to be a horde-based one next.
Brothers, join me.
Let us finish what the Cadians started.
Use the codes to prime the bomb and finish its deployment into the crude Prometheum well. Cautiously. If you know what is good for you.
There we go.
Stay dead, vermin. Reloading. Ordnance on me.
I hope the next Space Marine game we get, if we get another Space Marine game, is going to involve orcs. Because I like the orcs. I don't care if they make a return. I feel like this game is sorely missed without the orcs. At least the first game's orcs are sorely missed. Because, I mean, they're just fun. They're just funny guys that just like to murder things. Which makes it fun to murder them.
The generator's hung in the machine god's name. Crane sequencing initialized. Delivering payload.
Alright, which way are they gonna come out? Yeah, that one's always a given, but I mean, which way are they gonna which thing are they gonna attack?
Generator 4 is suffering mechanistic palpitations. Provide service before components are harmed.
All these dead Tyranids are a welcome sight. Swapping out magazine.
Got a clean house.
Rally, brothers! We can retake that generator with
Messiah's will.
This is a precise operation. We
I did not see the sniper shot.
Them, not me. Magazine out.
Guys, you ruined my chance to get armor.
Generator 2 needs support.
This is 3. Nice.
Disruption
Progress
of
is
operation
progress, brothers.
generator 2.
We are almost there.
Bring it into the Omnissiah's proper alignment.
Gotta get up there, get to the other reactor before they break it. If they break it, we're fucked. Game over. I have failed this a couple of times. Well, more like a few. And it's always resulted in a game over.
That is heretical behavior. Shut them up. Before they bring more.
Luckily, when you kill an enemy near it, it'll not do that. Their hive connection makes it nice.
Demolition deployment sequence concluded. No errors logged under the Omnissiah's watchful oculus.
Bomb is in place, Kamal.
There is an observation platform overlooking the Prometheum fields. It will make a good vantage for your ambush.
Replenished and ready.
Whoa. This motherfucker always sneaks up on me when I least expect it. kind of the point of it, but man, there are times where it's comedic. Like, I would enter a rest zone, right? Like that adjacent room all the way back there where we came from. I would enter that rest room, and then suddenly, bam, it just spawns as soon as everybody enters the door. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Do not get turned around.
Let's see, I'll take a moment real quick just to see how things are going.
Reloading.
Looking good so far. Alright.
Got the gear.
Oh, melted bombs. Nice, 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 nice.
Changing magazine. Into the maw of the dead. Disappointed. Swapping magazine.
There's never anything over here. I don't know why I bother checking. No, not even a data slate, that's right. I think there's only one data slate per mission. Fairly certain.
Swapping out magazine. Ordnance on me. Assume your weapon out. Some wood. Reloading. Fresh magazine in.
Oh, maybe there are two. Okay.
Always loved the smell of Promethium. Smells like humanity. Smells of grit. It seethes with chemical reactions, waiting to yield power. In the green soup of energy, I see thrust and
Armory data.
always have I loved the raw blood of industry.
Armory data is good for upgrading your weapons. That's what it's mainly used for. It's upgrading your war gear. Got another wave incoming. You can get armory data for in 2 to 3 ways, right? You can get it for completing the mission. Well, no, not completing the mission. You can get it either by the servo skulls, which you then, like, you carry the data all the way to the end of the mission, or you fight terminus-type enemies, where they're basically just mini-bosses. They usually come in the form of a Neurothrope, a Carnifex. If you've seen the campaign or you've played the campaign, you know what that is. And they're basically just big boss-like enemies that serve as just kind of like the tanks of this game. Like in Left 4 Dead terms, they're basically the tanks. Ow.
I will hold you to that.
So yeah, you beat them, you get the armory data, but if you don't beat them, well, you know, you die. They're not too difficult most of the time.
One down. Trillions to go. Swapping out magazine.
They're just really tanky. And they kind of hit hard if you're not careful. Like, you have to pay attention to their attacks. You could parry their attacks too, which to a degree that's kind of optimal because riposte striking some boss-like enemies are really nice. They're good for getting a lot of damage in a real quick sort of succession, but I'd say that if you don't want to take risks, you could just certainly unload a bunch of bolts at them and maybe attack them when they're down. Another extremist somewhere. It's probably either going to be a Lictor or... Nope, it's Zoanthropes. I have a method that I like to use. Damn it, it got away from me. Bastard. I don't have enough ammo for this. This is the worst part about the Zoanthropes, is that they will fucking cover each other when they take a certain amount of damage. And you have to deal with two of them at the same time. It's the most annoying thing. Oh, that's my favorite execution that they added so far. You learn to just develop a hatred for these things, that the executions just become that much more satisfying. Because you really do. You hate these things. Especially on higher difficulties, because they get tankier, and the amount of bolter ammunition and plasma you have to put into them just becomes that much more just annoying. And for the weak point, it's not too much of a problem, but it's just when there's two of them. And you have to constantly move between the two of them. I really don't like them. And notice they also got rid of the charge attack in this game for some reason. Like, if you don't do a combo, and if you just hold down the attack button, instead of doing the punch, you'll just do a charge attack. I noticed they got rid of that. I guess it's probably because it's a cheap and easy way to get a lot of damage in without doing the combos, but still. The auto was kind of useful to have that. You don't use it very much outside of maybe just mashing buttons, but... like, in a skirmish battle like this, I don't see a good time and place to use it, but when it comes to fighting, like, Neurothropes or boss-type enemies, you know, if you have an opportunity, why not use it?
Wonder how many I put down before they got me.
I probably should have put it on substantial difficulty because I literally am not having that much of a difficulty going through this. Let's see. I haven't used this gun yet, and I guess I could get some experience for it right now. Why not? Well, I mean, we're about to get into it in the next area, so... where are they? Where's the horde? Ew, crack grenades.
We await your signal, Captain.
Dig in. We need that bomb triggered for
Good for
optimal.
killing
Orbital scan
a
estimates
singular
bombers will
enemy.
not be in position for a while yet. Keep your heads and get it done.
I guess it just resets the wave. Oh, there we go.
Enemies have split from the main force. Prepare to intercept.
Usually they come from over... Yep.
Get that Prometheum ablaze! The Xenos are forming a pyramid.
Wait for it. And burn him alive.
The bulk of the swarm is continuing along the protected path. Continue holding.
Whoa.
Replenished and ready. Come on! The Prometheum is begging to be put to use. The refinery is no longer secure.
Coming from the sides. Actually, they always come from the sides around this time. Finally.
Halfway there, brothers. Keep it up.
Alright, I see you, I see you. Just let me go, please. I'll just fuck off. There we go.
Swapping out magazine.
Oh, don't need that. Two enemy waves eliminated. I'm completing a lot of ordeals just without trying. Oh god. I'm gonna need that. I'm really gonna need that. Oh, thank you, little guy. I needed that. That was looking kind of hairy there for a second. Ow.
Ready for another tyrannic call.
Oh, because of course there is. I kind of tooted my own horn a little bit, didn't I, when I said that? Just like, oh yeah, I'm not having that much trouble.
Tyrannics are attempting to reach our platform. Hold the line. We will push them back.
I was kind of begging to be humbled, wasn't I?
The swarm has almost fully committed. Be ready for my mark.
Deal your packs, brothers. Arming up. Some warrior.
One of the companions threw a grenade, but maybe they did, it just didn't go off. Or maybe it did go off, it just didn't have that much of an effect.
Magazine out. Magazine in. One down. Trillions to go.
We are almost through this nonsense.
You are clear to detonate. Cook those rotten bastards.
Yes, Captain. You heard him.
Alright, time to watch them all get blown to smithereens.
The swarm will not be making it to your location.
Tenant and biocides down 90% and falling. Swarm annihilation confirmed. Excellent work. Move to extract. Thunderhawk arriving at evac point. Ramp down and ready.
Converge at the extraction point. Hurry!
Time to get the fuck out of here.
Extraction complete. Returning to orbit. Commendable work, brothers. You honored your chapter. Be ready for rearm, refit, and redeployment immediately.
Crude but effective. Deploy a bomb in the Promethean well to destroy Tyranid swarms. I'm assuming is what that actually said. Victory! Oh! Man, oh man. Ah. I forgot I didn't make anything to drink. Oh well. Ay. I'm hearing a lot of things about the new Expedition 33. I'm kind of curious to see how that game's going to look when it comes out. Because I'm hearing a lot of people talking about it so far, and just my interest is piqued. Let's see, a lot of special kills, a lot of actual kills, damage taken. Alright, not too bad. Level 4 already. Upgrades, people, upgrades. A lot of ordeal related stuff. And here is the skill tree. You can just customize your character through here. This is where you go to upgrade most of it. It'll give you nice little class perks. The team one is basically for everyone in your team. They're basically the class perks. Essentially, they just give special bonuses to other members in your squad, such as the all squad members deal 15% more melee damage. Melee finishers of extremists or terminus level enemies basically give you restored 30% health for any squad member. It's all really nice. Then there's the signature ones, which is basically for like, it's more so like class specific. Grapnel launcher can activate a finisher not only on incapacitated enemies, but also on those who have less than 35% of health, except Terminus. Perform a finisher with a grapnel launcher restores its charge. Pretty nice. They're all just really nice little additives to make the class that much more fun. I don't think I really need to go and explain too hard. I don't think it needs that much convincing, as these things typically tend to be. At any rate, I'll switch over to this. I think this one also has a different skin, right? It does. It does have a different skin. But yeah, I've seen trailers for Expedition 33, but Expedition 33's world seems, I mean, it seems fairly interesting on like on paper, right? It's basically a party style RPG where it's a turn-based one if I remember correctly, and the name of the game, of course, is that you basically live in a world that is falling apart, and for whatever reason, there is a force in existence to where like there is a law, essentially. There's only one type of rule of law, and that's anyone past a certain age limit dies. And so the world basically caps off age. And if you're, say, for example, like if the if the world's age, I guess you could say determiner, or at least the cap is 50. Anyone past 50, you know, like age 50 is essentially dead. And people just up and die after they reach the age cap for that world, which it's an interesting concept. I wonder where they're going to go with that, but as far as like where what Expedition 33 is, I believe Expedition 33 takes place at a time when the cap is essentially around the like age, like that's the game suggests, 33 mark, and it's about trying to find out why the world functions this way and how do we stop it from essentially destroying human society. Causing essentially a collapse because of the fact that there's an age, like that the cap keeps, you know, the age cap keeps getting lower, but, you know, how far will it go if it's, you know, if it's left unintended? I mean, like, eventually before long, we're going to have people who are, like, we're going to go from 33 to 30 to 28 to 25. And eventually, you know, like, there just won't be anyone old enough who can probably live in that world, who can live in the world that it's created, you know, of that system. And human beings will just become extinct just by the natural fact that they cannot live past a certain age. And it's an interesting sort of like dystopian sort of scenario where it's like, what do you do in a world where it's slowly killing you and the rest of your, you know, and the rest of humanity off by simply by aging? It's a fascinating concept. I wonder what sort of stories they're gonna tell and what sort of conversations that's gonna be had as a result of that. Because I think it's definitely an interesting conversation to be had these days because we have a lot of fucking fossils in mostly executive and political positions, and I do not care for those people. And I've been advocating that, you know, that it's about time that the hand gets switched for years now, but it seems like someone's actually making a story about what would happen if we actually bothered to do something around that idea. Let's get this mission going. There is one thing I should probably check, and that's to see if I can upgrade my weapons just ever so slightly. Let's see, I can spend a point to get a mastery in this gun, which I will. Yes, thank you, game. Let's see, headshots deal more damage. Damage increased by 10% against terminus level enemies. When your health is below 30%, I'm gonna go with headshot damage right now. Because that's just gonna be more important at the moment. And then I could just respec it later.
Listen carefully to the hums of harmony. They will inform the mission spirit's need to know before any diagnostic.
So yeah, armory data is going to be very useful for that. There's also a vendor, a mechanicus you could talk to over by that thing, where you can essentially exchange currency for armory data as well. And a mission, any given mission at a time, right? You can get like up to 2 armory datas, one for finding it, and you know, from one of the servo skulls, the other one from killing one of the mini bosses. And so if you were playing the game optimally, right, you would eventually get like 2 of them by the end of a mission. But yeah, Expedition 33 looks pretty good. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned anything about it, but Duskborn looks like it's something to keep in mind. Nintendo's price range of $80 games is kind of weird, but I hear that they're actually talking about maybe rescaling that thought. The Switch 2 also looks like an interesting console, but I don't think it justifies putting $80 games on it. And game companies are already...
Predicts the Tyranids Hive Tyrant is leading a swarm along a corridor toward the astropathic relay. We are inserting you near a bridge held by the Imperial Guard that intersects with its path. You will level the whole structure and crush that Xenos monstrosity in the collapse. Visual on drop zone. Setting down.
And people are already pretty iffy about game companies pushing the envelope about $70 games, but $80...
Until you confirm that the Xenos Overlord has entered the kill zone. Then trigger the detonation. An inglorious death for an ignoble alien overlord. Fitting.
That'll up the odds.
Yeah, $80 is a big selling point. It's just a massive sticking point. I don't think it's too much to ask, right? For Nintendo to be at least a little bit aware of the grander landscape of video gaming and the gaming community. But they're so far in a way up in their own little bubble, up in their own ass. Like, look, I'll give Nintendo this, all right? They are really good at making some fun as hell games, but they cannot be bothered to actually, you know, ordain to listen to the concerns and pleas of like the general community, the gaming community at large, because they screw the pooch so many times, it's not even funny. Okay, come on. Oh my god. Now I can't even see. Okay. Oh, that's not good. Well, this is going well. God, we only just started, by the way. Holy crap. I really was tooting my own horn when I said all that shit back in the last mission. And when you're playing by yourself, no. Once you're dead, you're dead. Once you're dead, you're dead. Mission's over. But yeah, Duskborn is an interesting looking game that I would not mind playing, but I really... Oh wait, I keep calling it Duskborn, but wasn't it called Duskblood? Duskblood, Duskborn? I don't even remember at this point. But yeah, either way, it's another Bloodborne-like game by Miyazaki that I would absolutely not mind giving a try, but because it's Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, or just Nintendo Switch exclusive, it's not the biggest thing on my radar, especially with the asking price of $80. But on that subject though, like Nintendo, they have a problem, especially when it comes to older games, right? Like people always talk about how piracy is a big thing, companies always bitch and whine about it, even some indie devs do it. But the main problem with Nintendo, and Nintendo's the biggest, it has by far the biggest argument against itself in regards to piracy, and that's the fact that they have a lot of old titles, right? That people love and enjoy, but they do not port it to their modern consoles at all. They don't even make it available anywhere else. It's like, well, how am I supposed to enjoy these games if you don't make them available? And as another person in the games industry has once stated, piracy is not about, it's not about, people trying to break the law, among other things. It's a service issue. And I totally agree with that. It is a service issue. Just look at Nintendo. Nintendo's got an entire library of games that are really fun and engaging, very enjoyable to play, and they completely sit on them. They just squander it. They squander it, and instead of making... Here's an example, right? They could easily get around the idea of piracy and problems involving piracy if they wanted to. All they would have to do is just make their own emulators and then just port those emulations across all of their consoles. It would not be that big of a deal. It really wouldn't. If they just made their own dedicated emulator and then they just ported all their games to modern consoles with that emulation in mind, it'd be fine. Because the emulator, what emulation does essentially is that it simulates the console experience from which the game was based on. And so if it thinks that it's operating on, like if you're, for example, playing a Nintendo 64 game, like Super Mario, for example, like Super Mario 64, you could play it on a modern console by simply taking the Nintendo Super Mario framework, the Nintendo 64 framework, and then creating a program that simulates and emulates the Nintendo 64 I don't know, framework and experience of it. Just basically, it's kind of complicated, but the idea essentially is that it creates a sort of like a program that simulates the console, and so that way the games and the engines that are made for those consoles could run it, and so you could essentially just play the game on any type of hardware if you just simulate the hardware part of the experience or the software part of it. And so, naturally, right, there's a lot of places you could go to get games that help to get you those old titles. But Nintendo is such a fucking dumbass by having all these great classic games, and instead of just making them available on their hardware, they're more inclined to just stream it to you. It's just like, I don't want to play the game using a internet connection. I don't want to play it like it's Google, what was it, Strega or whatever. I don't want to play it like it's some type of experience that needs to be streamed literally to my consoles or to my devices. I would rather just play the goddamn game physically, right? Let the hardware do the job, and just let me have the game physically or as data on my hardware. This should not be complicated. But Nintendo doesn't want to do it that way. Nintendo would rather you just buy into their services and pay for the experience and pleasure of playing those old games, and they don't even have the full library of games for which to play, which is the most baffling part about it. And look, if you if you really don't want to make your own emulations, you could just not bother striking people down for using emulated versions of their consoles and playing games that are available on their websites. Now, again, I know piracy is sort of a sticking point for some people, but again, if you can't get the game legally by any other means, it ceases to be, all right, the argument ceases to become an issue of like, but that's literally illegal. You are literally stealing a game and you're stealing the money away from like someone who worked really hard to make the game, among other things, right? You know, the same bells and whistles of the usual crux of the problem. It's just like, oh well, but the people really worked hard on this game, and they spend a good portion of a decade just about making it. So why would you do this to them? And then my argument, of course, is just like, yeah, I see your point there, but what about Ocarina of Time? Why can't I play Ocarina of Time on my computer? Why can't I play Ocarina of Time on my Switch? Why can't I play Ocarina of Time unless I have to go through their stupid garbage streaming service to do it? Why can't I just own the game? Why can't I have it physically? You expect me to buy it bootleg off of like eBay or Amazon? Go fuck yourself. All right, especially when they're up on exorbitant prices. You know, people inflate the shit out of those games to an infinite degree, especially depending on the type of cartridge we're talking about. Like, you have the gold laminated cartridge of Majora's Mask, they will fucking sell that thing for a goddamn mint, I'm telling you. And they will absolutely charge you an arm and a leg for that shit. And I am not going to spend a shit ton of money just to relive my childhood for like maybe a moment or two. It's not worth it. It just isn't. And again, this wouldn't happen if Nintendo would just make a simple emulation of the games for their games and just port it all to the consoles. I mean, it's probably more complex than I'm making it sound, but if there was any reason, if you were going to port a game to a console, right, and you didn't want to backwards compatibilize the game like how some companies do it, just use an emulation. Just use an emulation. It's like the quick and easiest solution, right? Just make an emulator for the thing. Make sure the emulator runs properly on modern hardware, and then just put it there. Just put it there. And then you could just use that emulator reflexively for every game, and then you could just fix maybe whatever bugs that might result out of it being emulated on a console, and it's just not that big of a deal. If it even has any bugs. It's not. I mean, this shouldn't be hard, right? I imagine this shouldn't be hard, because once you just have the system in place, it should just be easy and simple, right? Right? I'm not fucking up when I'm saying all this, right? Like I'm not going crazy. That it makes sense, right? I don't know. I just hate that shit. I hate that shit. I just hate the fact that Nintendo seems to not give a shit about its consumers, especially longtime Nintendo fans. They're always constantly shafting them at every turn for liking the shit that they like, which is their products, by the way, and for daring to enjoy them in ways that are of their own free will and of their own free time, right? Like, well, I mean, like, again, all right, if you're not selling Ocarina of Time on modern systems, and I can't acquire it in any other fashion other than going through your garbage streaming service, which you could argue is their way of attempting to sort of like help, try to get around the arguments of like, oh, but we are actually doing something with them. It's like, no. I'm not streaming your game, Nintendo. I want your game. I want to play it. I want to have it physically. I want to be able to play it without needing an internet connection, like I do with just about every fucking other game on your goddamn library and your fucking eShop. I would rather just play the goddamn game, Nintendo. Whenever I want, however I want, in whatever way I choose, right? It just baffles me. It just baffles me that some companies just don't seem to get this. And in particular, you know, like, oh, that's another thing too, is that recently AAA companies are also getting the backlash and stain of like having their loot boxes be questioned by the entirety of the UK, which is interesting. I mean, like, they're planning to pin into legislation some interesting things about how they're going to ban loot boxes and how they're going to get regulated, which is really nice because I don't like that stuff. Nobody does. You ask any gamer, they'll tell you that I hate this garbage. It is truly something else, right? And we have to rely on governments to make sure that the games industry gets its shit together. But that's what it's come to, because they don't want to be bothered to do it themselves. They don't want to be bothered to actually just make decent products. They just want to nickel and dime you for everything you're fucking worth. And apparently it's all happening because of a fucking pony game. Not even like a My Little Pony type of thing, but like a Barbie, like a Barbie-esque type of like you know, like horse ranch type of game. I don't know. I watched a video on it. I thought that was just kind of funny. Let's see. You know, why not watch something, or what's this? No. Do you? You know, maybe we could just watch something that's 40K related. Why not? Seems like a good idea. What's this? Oh, Vindictus. I'm still surprised that Kazan was made by that same company that made that game. I'm still surprised by that. Oh god, the sus thumbnails on some of these. You know, this looks like... I never really reacted to Astartes, the full-on Astartes video. That might be a good one. Or maybe I should react to the new Bricky one. He says it's fine if people watch his stuff. I'm always a bit iffy about reacting to certain content. I mean, I always have been because I don't want to feel like that I'm mooching off their content hype at all, right? I don't want to make it a little, oh, there's my stream right there. I just don't want to feel like I'm just kind of like stealing their content, right? I certainly don't want to be accused of that. I would rather react to content painlessly, but sometimes it can't be helped, right? One thing I will say though, because I have been thinking about it since I realized that May's almost coming around. May 4th is almost here, and I would not mind doing a Star Wars stream if you guys want to. How about a Star Wars stream around maybe playing Jedi Survivor, or maybe an older Star Wars classic like Dark Forces? That one got a remaster not that long ago. You know, among other things, I got most of my favorite Star Wars games just like right here. That'd probably be fun to delve into. I haven't played through all of Dark Forces 2, and Mysteries of the Sith seem like an interesting one. These are old-ass games. They require DOSBox to play, some of them, but that just kind of comes innately with the game. My favorite one by this series, but by far, is Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. I think it's most people's favorite, but I don't think Outcast is on. No, actually, I think Outcast is on Steam. I just haven't bought it yet. Because I've already played it, to be honest. I've already played it a lot. But Jedi Knight is just one of those games where it's just like, you just kind of have to have it. You know, regardless. It's like, you just, if you like Star Wars, and you like playing Star Wars games, you know, just, you gotta have it. You gotta have it. And I've already modded the shit out of it to essentially incorporate the, what was it? The, Star Wars, what was that mod called? Star Wars, Galaxies something, right? It's basically a mod that basically recreates and simulates all of the best moments of the Star Wars era into a singular mod, which is really nice. I might have talked about it a few times. This is maybe I can't, because it looks like Jedi Survivor doesn't allow itself, I believe, if I remember correctly, right, some games actually don't let you use the family share library function. And so some companies will literally require you to buy the game for both accounts. Probably why this is a thing that I'm seeing right now. That makes me wonder then. What about where's Jedi Fallen Order? Survivor. Where the hell is Fallen Order? It's one of the only Star Wars games that I don't have installed right now. Weird. Where are you? Well, at any rate, yeah, I have quite the library of games. If anybody wants to see me stream any of these titles, you know, just let me know. It's quite a selection of titles to work with. I don't have any qualms with playing either of them on stream. It's just whatever works for you guys. I also have the classic Battlefront 2 because I seen the reviews for the classic edition, and as much as Aspire has done a great job porting these games, it's a question and a wonder to me why that classic edition in particular got fucked over as much as it did. It truly is embarrassing. Let's see. I could also play Witchfire if you guys want in like maybe a little later, but in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and react to the Astartes video, because I am interested to see what Astartes 2 is going to look like. And as someone who's become a bit of a fan of the 40K stuff, I am all in for Astartes 2. Absolutely. God, that looks so crunchy. Why does it look so blurry? I set it to 1080. It shouldn't be this blurry. 1080 HD. Enhanced bitrate. Are you saying the higher quality version is available if I were to get the fucking premium for this account? Is the bitrate is what causes it to look so blurry? I imagine that's probably what it is. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this already too, but a lot of this is made by one guy, and he literally, like, he made this all by himself and immediately after making all of this, he got basically asked by Games Workshop to go over and work with them, I guess to make cinematics going forward, which a lot of people kind of hated at first because it's like, well, but what about Astartes? This shit was cool. Why don't we get, aren't we gonna get this? Are we gonna get more of this at some point? And it just never happened for like several years, and it's only until recently that we just got like a return to Astartes 2, and it's probably because Games Workshop actually bothered to, you know, since Space Marines 2 turned out to be such a monumental success for Games Workshop, you know, like just to get the name out there and to get people interested in 40K, it's probably, they probably thought to themselves, you know, we should try and put ourselves even more out there. We should greenlight Astartes 2. We should do a bunch of other things. We'll hand off the franchise to Amazon and they can make like TV shows or movies out of it. It's just like, I feel like they're trying to get their name out there more now, since they're now more recognized and therefore could be easily more I guess the idea would be like they're more marketable now. They're, because they had their whole facelift with Space Marines 2, and because Space Marines 2 really put Warhammer 40K back on the map for just even casuals. You know, it's another franchise that I think a lot of companies are seeing as like another IP to milk to the point to where like they are going to just butcher the shit out of it. And I'm pretty sure that's what Jeff Bezos was planning to do with the 40K TV show, because, and probably still is. I don't know. Henry Cavill hasn't left that one, at least as far as I know so far. So, yeah, we'll see on that one. And if Henry Cavill doesn't approve of it, you know for a fucking fact it's probably going to be dog shit. So, that's just something to keep in mind. I can't imagine the amount of time and effort that must go into just animating each and every scene. That must take a lot of painstaking work, especially for one guy. And this was made a long-ass time ago, too, by the way. I mean, there was, and without motion capturing, I imagine, this is probably a massive undertaking. And this guy is probably Maxor levels of god-tier editing, right? Just like, this guy probably, I don't know what type of thing he must have used to get it all working. He probably used something around the equivalent of like Gmod or like Source Engine Filmmaker. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never made anything like this. And all I've ever done is try to make a game using Unreal Engine 5 and Blender. And that is a painstaking amount of time and effort. Imagine trying to create a model for all of these characters and then trying to make them all work and get them all colorized. This has to be a big fucking undertaking. Is all right. That's why I'm saying it's so impressive, because it's the I can't imagine what you would have to do to get all of this, to get all of, you know, to make this. It's impressive. Especially back in the day when this stuff was more of like an acquired thing, right? And the technology wasn't as streamlined as it is now. It must have been truly difficult to get all of this stuff working. Look at this shit. It's so clean. The animation is so crisp. This is probably the same guy who did the secret leveling video, by the way. By the way, you see the number counter on the bolt guns? How come that isn't there on some of... Well, actually, no. It is there for some of the 40k games. Deathwing had it. I guess it's just because that Space Marines 2 is mostly third person, and there's no first person point of view, so there's no reason to integrate that on the guns. But I love that detail of like, oh, here's the ammo counter on right here on the back of the gun. It's a nice detail. Like, not even 40k bolt gun had this kind of detail, which is, you know, all this stuff is just really nice. Oh boy. Almost got him. It's again, I can't stress this enough. It's amazing how good this looks even by today's standards, right? Like, I haven't seen anything on the same level by this as this in like from this franchise, or really from most fan projects. This is truly impressive, and I don't know exactly what they did to do all this. And that's the part that I'm more so curious about. It's just like, what exactly type of resources did they have to make this? Like, I know Markiplier helped to create this. I know he's listed as one of the people who are credited to help producing this thing. But outside of having like people who helped to produce and make this thing, I wonder what type of resources they had on hand, among other things. And if there were other people who helped to make this project to be what it is, because it really is pretty impressive. I really want to know. It just makes you curious, right? Because if one guy could do all this, it makes you wonder, well, what can one guy who has a similar dream do for other franchises or IPs, right? Just by themselves. We've seen Star Wars fans do something similar to this, but it's very much like they film themselves in fan-made clothes and everything, and they create short films. This is very much like technically and graphically very much inspired. I don't know how the hell they achieved this. I'm also kind of curious what chapter this is, because I know that there is actually they have actually bothered to actually give this particular sort of like this throwaway chapter that they created for specifically this video series a name, but I'm not sure I don't remember what it's called. I am kind of curious as to what their lore would be if they were to make a full show around this, because that would be pretty cool to make a show or around this particular chapter. It would certainly add more intrigue to the proceedings. It would also make this chapter stand out a lot more from the other ones. But I'm sure some people, if they were to get a 40K show, they probably want something from. They probably want a show based around the chapters that they're already very familiar with or used to at this point, like the Blood Angels, the Dark Angels, the Ultramarines, if people want that. The Imperial Fists, or even Perturabo's chapter, which is the fucking Iron Warriors, among other things, right? You know, like you can. There's a whole bevy of potential for stories, as well as just really nice action films. Even like if it's just Michael Bay-esque, like throwaway story, just go in, nuke the thing, kill that thing type of story. You know, like you could easily do a lot with this franchise if you just had the technical know-how and you had the right people involved to make it happen. Like, I could see this franchise making gold. I'm not even kidding when I'm saying that you could probably turn the Horus Heresy books into, like, a 40K Primarch TV series, and you could just make an entire TV series just focused on the Primarchs and their relationships prior to the Heresy. I mean, there's a whole lot of potential with this franchise. It just needs people who understand the franchise to be able to make money out of this franchise and to respect it enough to actually tell the stories that people want to see and not the stories that people think they want to see. You know what? That actually brings up another interesting point. There is a video there. I saw a video by who was it? Bonsai Pot? About his review for the Devil May Cry TV show. I agreed with his points up to I don't want to say a point. I agreed with his ideas and sentiments up to the point where, you know, like they're taking necessary liberties with it, not too different from Castlevania, and you know, it's not terrible. It's not the same story, but they're at least doing something new and interesting with it, which is, and it's very much like its own established universe, clearly. And it's like, well, that's true, but why fuck with something that's already done well, right? That's my argument for it. And then he went on to say, like, oh, but it was okay that they decided to use this story arc where they made demons into essentially like refugees because, you know, that's an important story to tell. And I vehemently disagree on this front. I hated that idea. I hated this idea. This is the thing that I hate the most about people who say stupid shit like this online. It's funny that throughout the entire video process, by the way, he was saying like, oh, well, you know, writers, they need to be given more credits and more, they need to get more credits than they're deserved. But at the same time, he was basically at the end of the video advocating that it's okay for people to change the, you know, original stories because of the message. And it's like, no. Okay, no. All right, if I made a story, right, here, let's use me as an example. If I made a story, right, if I made my own IP or franchise, whether it's a book series or not, and I wanted, and it was given, and someone decided that they wanted to come and adapt it for a new medium, right, I would be like, okay, sure, but I would hope, right, the idea is that you would adapt this story cleanly to a new medium in a way that still holds true to the original story. Because you want to know why? It's because it's really hard to understand why people like a franchise so much when you bastardize it so thoroughly that it looks nothing like what people remembered. And not just for fans, too. It's going to make people wonder, is this what this series is about? Is this what people like about this thing? It doesn't seem like anything new or interesting to me. It just seems like the stuff I've already seen before. So no. Okay? No. You are not bastardizing a fucking series. You're not bastardizing beloved stories simply because you think the message that's being told at this current moment is justifiable enough to warrant it. No. Shut the fuck up. I hate people who say this. I hate people who do this because it's not important to what you're supposed to be doing, and it's not integral to what you're actually supposed to be doing. Because what you're supposed to be doing is adapting a story that's popular, that people really like, from one medium into another one. All right? Granted, if they were going to adapt DMC3 to a TV format, I would understand if they need to change some storytelling conventions to accommodate it, right? Because you can't just have Dante have cuts, like you can't just show all of the Dante cutscenes and then have intermittent points where he's solving puzzles and fighting and killing hordes of demons at every like 5 minutes or so. It's like you can't have that consistently throughout the whole thing. Like you have to limit the amount of action scenes because it's going to inflate your budget, and also because it kind of gets in the way of the storytelling aspect of it. Like you have to think about pacing, and unlike video games, TV shows have a very different pacing, and so you have to adapt it for the medium that it's being put into. But if your idea of adaptation is, oh, I should go in and bastardize this amazing work and then change it fundamentally so I could tell something new and unique that I care about using this IP, go fuck yourself. Literally get the fuck off my IP. Go find a different job then. Go make your own shit if that's what you want to do. Get the fuck off of my fucking... Get the fuck off of my story. Stop trying to tell my story that you're apparently trying to spoof off of to tell your own original story, you piece of shit. Like, I don't understand that mentality, and I don't get people who think this is a good idea and that this is a genuinely okay thing to do. Literally, fuck off. I hate people like this. All right? The story was fine enough as it is. Any changes you make are questionable at best. They're seriously damning at worst, all right? Just the simple fact, right, that they changed Lady's entire backstory to be working as a police force for the government that hunts demons is already rectifying enough to basically question, well, what's the story going to be? How do you tell the meaningful story that gets Dante interested and rediscover his humanity through Lady, aka Mary, also having her own sort of midlife crisis about her own family that gets him interested into understanding not only his own family, but also what it means to be human and what he values. There are problems here that are not being addressed. And they never addressed it. In fact, they just made Lady just a really annoying character for the sake of being annoying. And it's like... I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I know I got onto a bit of a tangent, but it really grinds my gears when I hear people say shit like that. It's just like, oh, it's fine. It's totally fine if people completely butcher a franchise just so they can tell a weird pseudo-political message. It's like, no, fuck off, all right? If you're going to come in and bastardize somebody else's work and say that it's fine that people do that because the message is more important, or if you're going to sit there and say that, especially since he went on said that the authors deserve more credit, motherfucker, what the hell are you saying to the authors of the original work itself when you're saying that their original story isn't as important as the actual story that somebody else is telling using their fucking work? What is that saying to that person? Granted, DMC Devil May Cry is loved by Hideaki Itsuno for some bizarre fucking reason, but nobody questions that because, well, I mean, if he likes it, he likes it. The fans clearly didn't like it. I mean, I certainly didn't care for the new storytelling conventions that they added to Dante's character, among other things. In fact, I would say that his writing is no different than the millennial writing we're seeing nowadays with female characters, but that's either here or there. Point being, I fucking despise the changes. Itsuno says, these are actually kind of funny. These are kind of cool. I actually didn't hate this rebooted version of Dante and the Devil May Cry story. It's like, well, that's good. Okay, that's cool for Itsuno, all right? And Itsuno understands that fans like this series and they like it enough to where, they don't like to see it be bastardized. So that's why he went back and made Devil May Cry 5 at some point, because he realized that it's kind of a weird way to end the series on, just on a sour note of I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. And now I don't think I'm ever going to get a return to this in any sort of form or fashion. And so naturally, you know, like when they made DMC5, people were excited, they were happy, and everybody was content with that. It practically ended the Sparta storyline. But this TV show, it basically takes the story of DMC3 and just shits all over it and turns it into something else entirely. They just completely were just like, fuck the script, we're just going to make our own thing. And it wasn't even that good. It wasn't even that good. It wasn't anything new. It wasn't anything different. It was the same shit we've seen before by Netflix, just with a different coat of paint. It was with a Devil May Cry coat of paint, and it's garbage. I fucking hate when companies do that. That shit pisses me off. Anyways, I'll go ahead and just leave it there. Let's just move on. We'll finish this. That looks pretty gnarly.
Astartes.
God, this shit is so wild. Do we know, like, do we know exactly what the orb is saying in this moment? I'm kind of curious, because it seems like there's a lot of whispering, but I don't know if it's coherent, or if they're just whispering, or just making wispy noises, just to make it seem like there's whispering happening. I would like some confirmation on that detail. Rip that guy. That shit's so gnarly, by the way. That's probably my favorite sequence in this thing so far. Just like, oh, the orb is there, suddenly it turns into a demon, the demon wisps away. You don't even see the full extent of the thing, right? You see the orb. And then you see the demon. And then it just flies away. It's just like, that is such a wonderful sequence. And you're just like, what the hell even is this thing? What does it look like? Like, you don't even see the full thing because it's so dark in the scene. And you're just wondering, what does this whole thing look like? What does it encompass? What even am I looking at? It's just like, it's almost Lovecraftian levels of scene making. It's just like, oof. It's pure cinema. Absolute cinema. And then this shit happens. Okay, so what happened there, do you think? You think a psyker came in and saved them? Maybe it was like a librarian from this particular chapters, or do you think it was something else, right? Like, I'm kind of curious as to the context of that scenario, because it's like, at first you see the demon holding the Astartes, but then suddenly something zaps it from beneath the screen. It screams in pain, and it lets go of all of the Astartes, and so presumably they're all ported into different locations, possibly within the warp itself, and so you have stranded Astartes within the warp, and you have to ask yourself, what the fuck do they do now? Now, mind you, he could be just on a random planet, but there are places within the warp itself that arguably a person could survive being in. If I remember correctly, I believe the lore-specific details is that there are places within the warp that you could survive in, but it just has to be it has to be way outside of the domain of one of the major demons. And so, presumably, right, this could just be a planet, but there's also a good possibility, potentially, right, that this man might be stranded on like a planet within the warp itself, and he's basically stranded with no hope of survival if he encounters a demon, because the warp is the demon world. It's basically the homeworld of the demons. If he encounters a demon, he's practically fucked, because the demons are, you're on their home turf, and you're not Caldor Drago. You're not gonna go on there and you're not just gonna start fucking up demons left and right like you're fucking Dante at the end of DMC 2. That's not how that shit's gonna work. No. What's gonna happen is that you're gonna get your shit pushed in by even probably the smallest of demons, and if there's enough of them, you're boned. you're just so boned. And I don't think you can kill demons literally as a normal as Astartes in this world. You might be able to, but if enough demons know of your existence, and if one of the major demons start to take notice, like it's just a matter of time, so you're dead. Like it's a guaranteed death. It's been established that if you enter the warp, you're basically guaranteed to die. And I imagine that since he managed to escape the demon, and if he is in the warp, he's somewhere in a random place within the warp that is not in demon territory. Like he's probably just stranded somewhere in alternative space, basically hoping that he can find potentially a way out, maybe, right? Presumably. I don't know. I love this animation. It's a really cool animation. I'll let it play the rest of it. But I am hope that the next part of this gets a return to this storyline. And I'm hoping that we see some new chapters, some chapters we all know, as they're all referencing. The Astartes 2 trailer also references several chapters. It doesn't look like they're going to focus primarily on on this story in the new one. They might, but it looks like they were just focusing on like advertising. Look at all these chapters. Look at all these cool things. It's like I would love to see them return to the story in some fashion. And I'm sure they will. I'm sure if given enough time and effort, they probably will. I guess another thing that would be nice to react to at some point is Hell Search, because I see a lot of good things about the Hell Search series, though it's 2 hours long. It's basically a movie into itself. It's based off of a book, from what I'm told. I never actually sat down to watch it, so I'm kind of curious about it, but that's going to be it for me. At least in terms of reactions, and I guess maybe in general as well. See, it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and just cut it there. But anyways, that has been a stream, I guess. Played a little bit of Space Marines 2, watched Astartes, and kind of talked a little bit about myself and some of the things going on in the world today. Thank you all so much for watching, and hope to see you all in the next one, I guess. I mean, yeah, just thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next stream, hopefully, or even just in my next, or even just when this video goes live, or even in the next one, after it goes live. I don't know. I know that streams get more metrics after the fact than during on YouTube, but either way, hope to see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.